It was interesting to see what changes Nintendo would make to their sequel to Breath of the Wild. There's quite a few improvements to the UI, but there are still some issues that persisted. First, let's go over the improvements. Number 1. Materials have now been given their own quick menu so they can be selected and dropped into the environment without having to go to the start menu. Number 2. You can now drop any item from the quick menus using the X button. You no longer have to go to the start menu to drop a shield or a bow that you don't want anymore. Number 3. When opening a treasure chest and inventory is full, a submenu automatically comes up that allows you to quickly pick which ones you want to drop so you don't have to reopen the chest. Number 4. You can select a material in the start menu and check recipes that use it so you don't have to memorize recipes and what they do. It'll even outline any materials that you're missing. The random elements are still present, so it makes a little more sense why they don't allow batch cooking. Now for the issues. Number 1. There are so many materials that it can take a while to scroll to it when going from one material to another. Number 2. You still can't loop around the menu. It only makes it more tedious when you're switching between materials or weapons that are near opposite ends of the list, when you should just be able to loop around if you tap twice or something, like when you navigate the virtual keyboard on the Switch's eShop. It also just doesn't make sense why Nintendo stuck to a one-dimensional menu, since that is the slowest way to navigate a large number of items. The background is blurred out anyways, so it doesn't matter if they allowed multiple rows and columns of the icons of the weapons that you could navigate through, just like in the start menu. Number 3. When using a fused arrow, you have to reselect the material for each shot. There's no way to set a material for repeat use. Number 4. You can't use the materials quick menu to quickly fuse to shields and weapons like you can arrows. Number 5. You can't destroy the fused items on your weapons without going into the start menu. It'll simply display a text message that the weapon is already fused. Nintendo could have opted to have you hold the button to confirm destroying the fused material and replacing it with the new one. That would be one way to handle destroying fused weapons in real time, but for when you're holding the D-pad for the quick menus, they could have just allowed you to use another button to destroy any weapons with fused items. Number 6. Being able to throw materials is a cool new feature, but you can't enter the throw state from the materials submenu. You have to first hold R to throw, then use the material submenu in order to throw it. It's the same issue when using the bow. The R button and ZR button don't do anything in the material submenu. This only makes the game mechanics more cumbersome to perform by stretching such a particular order, when it would have been much more intuitive and straightforward if you could immediately throw a material or fuse it to an arrow if you opened the material menu first and then held their respective buttons second. Number 7. Conversely, you can't fuse things to your weapons in the start menu, although there is an argument to be made for why this option isn't available, and it's because Nintendo wanted to keep as much of the action with your abilities in the world as possible and not behind menus, which makes sense. Number 8. You still have to skip through Hetsu's dance every time for every upgrade. You cannot upgrade more than one inventory slot at a time. Number 9. You still have no way to review what materials are needed for the Great Fairy. They resolved this with the recipe, so I don't know why they left this unchecked for the fairy. It should be fairly straightforward when you're in the start menu, when you push the A button, that the little submenu contains one to review materials necessary for upgrades. Similar to Hetsu, you can't upgrade multiple at a time, so you have to skip through the fairy's animation every time for every upgrade. Those are the bulk of the UI issues so far. I may have missed a few. Let me know in the comments.